Welcome to the New Little Life podcast. My name is Allison. I'm a lactation consultant, a breast pump expert, and a mom of 3 little boys. Here on the podcast, we talk with real moms and experts about breastfeeding and pumping. This podcast is designed to help you feel supported by other moms who are doing exactly what you're doing, to get tips and tricks on breastfeeding, and learn how to efficiently navigate pumping while going back to work. Welcome back to the New Little Life podcast. I'm really excited to be here with my guest today because she is a fellow YouTuber like me, which is really cool. So I love talking to people in the same space, especially lactation consultants who have a lot of experience and education around pumping, which is what we're going to do today. So I'd like to introduce you to Kassi. She's an internationally board certified lactation consultant and a registered nurse and a mom. She speaks English and Spanish and loves working with parents to meet their personal goals for nourishing their babies. As a lactation consultant and new mom, she is familiar with the rewards and challenges that came along with learning how to feed little ones. She's also passionate about helping families feel more prepared through prenatal lactation education, and also loves helping families who are struggling with baby feeding to use pumping as a tool to protect their milk supply and prolong their lactation journey, which is a lot of what we do too. So it's going to be great. She has an inclusive lactation practice that meets families where they are, offering both local and virtual consults and classes. She also is a creator of a YouTube channel, and I'll link that down below, both in the show notes and here on the YouTube video, all about lactation and pumping, which aims to make quality evidence-based information available to families everywhere. So welcome, Kassi. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to meet you too, Allison. I've been following your channel for a while, so this is exciting for me too.
It's fun. I love seeing other people in a similar space, and we all kind of tackle things from a different way, which I love too. I think there's so many. You mentioned in your bio that you had an inclusive practice, and I would love to ask you more about that and what that means to you. But I think there's just so many people that enjoy learning in different ways about different things. So I'm always happy to see more people doing this kind of thing. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of what got you into the space? How long have you been doing it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I have been a lactation consultant for almost 6 years now, and I got into lactation consulting. I was working in a clinic in the Washington, D.C. area for Latino families, and my passion was always women's health, and I was working in a completely different area, but working with the population that I love working with. And my boss at the time just encouraged me to take more trainings and do the things that I love to do. And so she encouraged me to do a lactation course, and that's how I started the long journey to becoming an IBCLC. And I love this work now. And then in 2020, I actually had just started a private practice in the DC area in 2019. And then when COVID started and no one really wanted extra people in their house. So home visits really slowed down, and I started doing more virtual visits and started my YouTube channel just to be able to reach people and help families that weren't getting the lactation classes in person that they used to get at the hospital, and they weren't getting the support postpartum that they needed. So
yeah. So how has that kind of evolved? What are you doing now currently? How are you offering services and working with clients?
Yeah. So now I still do the YouTube channel. I am focusing more on the virtual visits. I relocated with my family last year to Maine, so I still do some in-person visits in the area, but I feel like I can have a wider reach than just my local community by doing the videos and being able to reach people virtually. And there aren't a lot of bilingual lactation consultants, bilingual English and Spanish. So And there aren't a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Maine either. So it's nice to have the virtual option to be able to reach more families.
Yeah, you bet. Where did you learn Spanish? Is that something you've always known, or did you pick it up as an adult?
My dad is from Chile, so I grew up hearing it. And then I moved there right after college. I moved to Chile for about 6 years. And that's where I got fluent. And I had been working as a nurse after college in the Boston area for a couple of years, and I just realized that I really wanted to be able to speak to our Spanish speaking patients and communicate better. And I just kind of took that leap of like, I've always wanted to do this. I'm going to go there. And it was an amazing journey. Like I got to know my family so much better, I get to learn more about my culture and learn the language. So it was an amazing experience.
So did you work as a nurse down in Chile?
I worked as a nursing professor, actually. I taught
Wow.
undergrad students, and I also was studying my master's in public health when I was down there. So I was busy.
Wow. And all of that in Spanish, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Obviously not right away, but
Okay.
after the first couple of years of
I'm
being
just
there, yeah.
I'm just thinking like we lived in Europe for a few years in a French speaking area. And so like I can relate a little bit to it's just, it's just an experience until you've experienced being in a place where you do not understand the language and you have to learn quickly is
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, oh heavens, I would never have want to like taught a class in French.
It was a
Um,
huge learning curve for me.
oh my word. And there's such a difference between spoken words and then like especially in the clinics like I got my IBCLC actually in Belgium with a
Oh,
midwife
wow.
there, which was cool, but the words that you use in a hospital and clinical setting are so different from speaking to
Yes.
someone in a conversation. And just to be clear, I speak French pretty poorly still. Not, I am not bilingual, but I could probably get my thoughts out with a few laughs along the way, you know. So
Yeah, you can
very
make your
cool.
point.
Yeah. How much of your practice and your clients are you doing Spanish speaking care for?
Not a huge percentage, but maybe like a fourth.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I
Wow.
mean, I would love for it to be more. I just like as I reach more people, hopefully the word will get out and I'll have more clients that are Spanish speaking because I
Mhm.
absolutely love working with that population.
Do you find that there's a lot of cultural differences between those who maybe are, US Anglophones and then a Spanish speaking community, whether they're in the US or elsewhere? Do you find, I'd be curious to know what are some of those cultural differences that maybe we just don't know of? I don't know. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the influence that prior generations have
Yeah.
on the nursing relationship and how I think there's it's pretty ingrained in Latin culture that like just give the baby a bottle, and there's more pressure I think from the elders to give formula, and why are you struggling so hard, and maybe a little less support from prior generations that maybe haven't had the experience with the exclusive nursing or exclusive providing human milk because the formula was available, and also because some people have the vision of like that's what's done in the US, and once we get to the US like we want to do what everyone does there, so let's give formula. I think there's more pressure in that way and less of an example from prior generations of what an exclusive nursing relationship can look like.
That's interesting. That makes sense to me because the family is more involved in a lot of cultures like that. And so
Yeah.
I think you get those pressures a lot more from the way that the grandmother did it is kind of
Yeah.
just what she knows. And they're caring for the baby in this like holistic sense too. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's funny. My husband is from Honduras, so even like with his prior kids, when we were getting ready to have my daughter, who's now 18 months, it was funny because he would ask me when I was pregnant, like, so at what age do you have to start them on formula? And I was like, well, you don't really have to if things are going well with nursing and you have enough milk. And like at 6 months, they
Yeah.
start eating solids and you don't really ever have to give formula. And he's like, what? I thought you did have to at 6 months. So it's just like different beliefs
Mhm.
from different cultural backgrounds.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your experience with your baby and kind of what that was like for you. You were already a lactation consultant when you had her,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, correct.
Which I think can be both a blessing and a curse sometimes. Because
Oh gosh.
I think we put a little more pressure on ourselves, or at least I did. Like, I'm trained in this, I should know what I'm doing. But then mom brain happens, and you're looking at this baby. This was my experience anyway, where I'm just like, I don't know anything. Like, I have to
So
call
hard.
a friend and be like, I don't know how to feed a baby. Just like help me.
I know.
Maybe you handled it better than me, but I'd love to know about your
I don't
experience.
know. Yeah, I think it's different when it's your baby, your mind changes and like your worries change. And I don't know for sure. But I think my experience was also a little bit unique and call it like nurse curse or lactation consultant curse. I had all the curses, I had
Yeah.
all the challenges. I wanted to quit for the first 4 months of my journey because it was so difficult.
Um,
I think the first challenge that we came up against was what I considered my nurse curse. Everyone was like, "Oh, something always happens when you deliver a baby and you're a nurse." I was like, "Okay, let's see what it is."
yeah.
And I was so worried it was going to be a postpartum hemorrhage, and I'm so thankful it wasn't. But I did end up with postpartum preeclampsia,
Oh,
and yeah, and it stunk. Like my pregnancy, I didn't have any issues with my blood pressure, and I was like 2 days postpartum and I started just to like feel weird. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was outside of my body and my body started to get all swollen and my blood pressure started to get all wacky. And
yeah.
I don't know, I just didn't feel right. And they kept me an extra day and ran all the preeclampsia tests and they were negative. So they sent me home. And I was at home and I was like, still, this isn't right. Like, I'm just getting more and more swollen, and my blood pressure kept going up. And it was really hard because of being a nurse to get listened to, which was kind of funny. I felt like
Yeah.
my providers were like, "Oh, you're a nurse, so like if you need to come back." And I'm like, "I don't know. Can you just be my provider and make the
Yeah.
decision for me?" I don't know. I have a newborn. I don't want to go back to the hospital. I want to stay home. So that was tricky.
Yeah, I had some of those same experiences as a nurse too. I'm an LPN, but and also a
Yeah.
lactation consultant. So when you have these problems, I think people just assume like you know what you're doing. I was a birth doula for a while too and stuff. So I think my providers like knew I knew stuff, but I'm right with you. When it's happening to you or you have these like new mom hormones and you just went through this experience, like it was great, but
Yeah.
also I don't it's just it's a lot. It's overwhelming for everybody, no matter how
Yeah.
trained or not you are. So I can really relate to some of your feelings there as well.
Yeah. It was crazy and it was scary. And one night I just went to bed and I couldn't sleep because I had that. And I've heard of that like feeling of impending doom that they talk about with preeclampsia. And I literally couldn't lay down because I thought if I fall asleep, I'm going to die. Something bad's going to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the hospital and I had fluid on my lungs, and I ended up having to have a magnesium drip. And they did let my baby come with me, but I ended up sending her home because with magnesium it just makes you like you're not in your right mind, and I
It's
couldn't take
not
very good
fun.
care of
No.
her. So yeah, we were separated for the first like for like 2 days, and then I was just pumping, but magnesium makes it so that your milk supply kind of drops even if your milk has already come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like trying to get up all night and keep pumping even though I was on this magnesium drip and couldn't eat any food. It was awful. So we did that. We got through that. Eventually, my supply came back up once the magnesium drip was off, and then we went on our journey. But then it was kind of funny because like she had a tongue tie, which we ended up needing to work through. I had inverted nipples, which made it really difficult too. And I thought that was going to be my breastfeeding challenge, was that, and it was. I mean, eventually we did start with a nipple shield, and
Yeah.
she latched on one side pretty well with and eventually without the nipple shield, and then the right side she just never latched on for 4 months. So I was exclusively pumping one side and exclusively nursing on one side.
Oh wow. So then did you also feed the milk you expressed from the right side? Was she like combo nursing bottle feeding as well?
No, because I just had so much milk.
So you
So
just saved like kind of saved her
the
milk.
left side just like completely nourished her, and the other side I stored up. And then eventually my freezer got so full that I just donated a bunch of milk, which was cool to be able to do.
Really cool. So
Yeah.
was it hard to get your milk supply back up after that magnesium drip? That's it does tank your supply
It does.
I'm impressed that you then created kind of an oversupply after that experience.
I think my body was going to be prone to oversupply anyway, so
Mm.
I was lucky in that sense. But yeah, it dipped for like 24 hours, and then once they shut off the magnesium, it returned pretty quickly within like the next 24 hours. So, but I was pumping every 3 hours for like 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
that I think being a lactation consultant helped me in that sense because I knew how important it was to keep pumping. Otherwise, there's no way I would have been getting up on a magnesium drip in the middle
No,
of the night, pumping every three
sounds
hours.
terrible.
I understand why people don't do that.
Yeah, you need a gold
So
star
hard.
because I'm I'm not doing
So
that.
hard.
I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. Yeah, you mentioned that you think you may have been prone to oversupply too, and I would really like to like see what you meant by that because I have the
Yeah.
same thoughts and feelings, but maybe just kind of explain that because I think this is a concept that doesn't get talked about very much. We think of an induced oversupply, meaning that you just went crazy on the nursing, the pumping, the everything, and created a
Yeah.
supply. But I don't know. Dive into that a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So funny. I actually haven't talked about this anywhere yet, but when I was pregnant, my breast changed so much
Mm,
that I ended up needing to go see a breast specialist because it looked like I was getting it appeared to be similar to what inflammatory breast cancer looks like
mm.
because I started to get like red, warm areas on my breast that looked almost like mastitis. And yeah, so I saw a breast specialist and they just did a biopsy and checked, and thank goodness everything was normal. And I was just like, I think it's just like crazy changes from pregnancy, and I'm probably just going to make a lot of milk. And that's what it was.
Crazy. So, yeah, I just did another podcast interview as well with someone who had an extreme oversupply. Um, and it was just interesting. I think there is a tendency, some people are just prone to that naturally. And I don't know.
Yeah,
There's so much
for
focus on
sure.
low supply, which I think is a big problem. Like that is,
Yeah,
plaguing a lot of people for a million reasons, as you know. But
yeah.
I don't think oversupply is always a great thing to like wish for. I don't know. Have you enjoyed having that peace of mind of the extra, or has it been a little bit of a hassle for you? I'd love to know where you're at on
Yeah.
that.
It was hard to manage at first, but luckily, I think it would have been harder to manage maybe if she had been nursing on both sides because I maybe would have been
Mm,
prone to like more engorgement and more discomfort. But because she was only eating on one side, she would pretty much empty that one and then the pump would empty the other, and then my body thankfully regulated faster than some people's does. Like, I think because the pump doesn't always maintain a supply the way a baby does, it slowed down a little bit on the side that I think was really prone to um, the overproduction because that's the side that I had like that redness and everything on. That slowed down, and as we kind of like got to that 4 month mark when she started nursing on both sides, my body just was at a point where the milk supply wasn't super hormone driven anymore, and it was able to like calm down and level off to what she needed. And thankfully it's just stayed at like what she's needed. She's still nursing at 19 months now, so
wow, that's amazing. So tell
yeah.
me logistically, did you pump at the same time as you nursed her when you were
Yep.
dealing with that in the beginning? What,
Yep.
tell me more about that. There's got to be some
I know.
logistics to talk about there.
Yeah, for sure. So I tried so many different pumps. I feel like my journey helped me learn about pumps a lot because it was
Yeah,
like trying out all the wearable ones and like the baby Buddha, anything that was like little and I could keep next to my bed at night.
sure.
And I would nurse her, and the best thing that I could do for this was have like a nursing pumping bra that was the combo. So I would nurse her
Uh,
on one side and then have the pumping bra hold the one on the other side, and then just set that all up. And then usually she would be in a football hold, and then I would just feed her and pump. That was how I worked it out so that it didn't take me an additional like 20 minutes to pump after she nursed.
were you pretty tied to the home doing that? I'm trying to picture this happening while you're out and about.
Yeah.
Maybe you found a way to make that work, and if so, please tell us how you did that.
Oh my gosh, no. And I wasn't really out and about
Yeah,
because
okay.
this was like COVID times when I wasn't going to be taking her anywhere anyway. So we were pretty homebound.
Because I'm like, man, I don't know. That's the bad
Yeah,
thing
I
about
can't imagine.
having
Yeah.
an oversupply is you always have to deal with it, you know? And so if you run to the store and you nurse her, like the other side's going to be blown up, you know? You gotta
Yeah.
take
Yeah. That's really
so
true. Yeah. That would have been really tricky to manage. Thankfully,
yeah.
we weren't really going anywhere. I mean, thankfully, and that was another like whole bag of worms with becoming a mother during the pandemic was like all the worries about whether or not to, and what was safe to do with a newborn that wasn't vaccinated and all those things. So
I remember too. I had a baby in August of 2020,
you did.
in Europe. Yeah, and
Oh, wow.
that was hard to navigate, both the pregnancy and
Yeah.
the birth, and then what do I do with this baby? Because in the past I had gone to, breastfeeding cafes and like little
Yeah.
mom groups to exercise, just like getting out and talking to real humans is important when you have a baby.
So important.
And yeah, that was hard navigating that through a pandemic as well.
It was hard. And it was hard with oh, my pregnancy was during like when vaccines came out. And so everyone was feeling a little bit more like safe about things, and it was hard
Mm.
with when like all the people that had supported me through my pregnancy, and then I think it was the Delta wave that hit, like the one that was
Oh yeah.
really scary, and that was right when my baby was
It
born,
was
and
like
then it was
targeting
like,
pediatrics, if I remember right.
yes, it was
Yeah,
so
that was
scary,
rough.
and then
Yeah.
we weren't seeing anyone, and it was like so tough to have like gone through this pregnancy with all this support and then have a newborn and be like, I can't see anyone because I'm trying to protect my baby. It was super tricky.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. It the world, I still can't believe we made it through that.
I know it's crazy. It just seems like another lifetime, and it just
Oh
happened.
my gosh. That was just, but it's funny how quickly kind of things, not how quickly, it seemed like forever, but I do find it kind of feel like we're back to a new normal, and
Yeah,
like it's just part of it now. And thankfully these
yeah,
kids are all playing with each other now, and they'll
yeah,
be fine developmentally. I think it was harder on the kids that were like a year old at the time because they all of a sudden had no social life anymore. They couldn't
yeah,
play and they'd only ever seen their parents, and those kids tend to have a
yeah,
harder time, integrating into the
yeah,
world, it seems like. But
yeah. That and
so,
teenagers, right?
oh my goodness, I didn't have teens, but you're right. That was difficult for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So is that kind of the experience that got you interested in pumping support for parents? 'Cause I noticed like a lot on your YouTube channel, you talk a lot about pumps and pumping, which is great. Is
Yes.
that kind of what started it, your own experience?
Yeah, I think so. That's what really sparked my interest because before I always thought pumping was kind of cool, but I just had to delve into it for my own experience. And then I think how like so many of us struggle with nursing and latching, and I feel like I always tell parents the first couple of weeks is so tough, and if you can get through it, then usually you can hit a smooth patch. But what you need to do in that early time, if you are struggling with nursing, is use a pump to protect your supply. And I think just my journey kind of reinforced that for me, like showing me how pumping can really help prolong a lactation experience that might otherwise have been cut short, or just protect the milk supply so the milk is there when the baby's ready.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like pumps are a fantastic tool and they can be used on their own to give your baby breast milk or to protect something that's happening while we figure out nursing
Yes.
problems. Like there's just a wide variety of uses. So, did you find that pumping was kind of an intuitive experience, like it just kind of worked, or was there a learning curve for you in trying to figure out how to use that effectively?
Yeah. There definitely was a learning curve. And, as a lactation consultant, I'm used to like figuring out pumps and fitting people for flanges. And I could not figure out my flange size. I still don't know if I figured it out. I
It's
just stopped
hard.
pumping eventually, but
Yeah.
it was hard. And like, I definitely don't think both sides were the same. So I think that's another
Mhm.
thing that we need
Yeah.
to get out of our minds. Like sometimes people use
Totally.
different flanges on different sides. I was using like the pumping pals on one side and the Medela flange on the other. And then down the road, I realized I should have been using a 21. And now I'm like, should I have been using an even smaller flange that whole time? Like, I think there's a kind of a movement in the lactation world now to move towards smaller flange sizes, which I think has its merit. I mean, obviously everyone's different, but I think that got in my mind like, oh, maybe I should have been using an even smaller flange size all this time.
I know. I feel like we're still learning kind of how that all works. And I mean, in my experience, they're usually smaller than
Yeah,
that,
yep.
almost always. And they're almost always smaller than the person thinks they are when we find that right size.
Yeah.
But you said something that was interesting, that you still don't quite know if it was like the right size or if you found that perfect size. And I think that's an important thing to know. Like, at least in my practice working with my clients inside my program that we have, it changes. And I don't think there's actually like a
Yes.
perfect size for everybody. And I think experimenting is kind of how you figure that out. And
Yep.
so I mean, that's what I help, moms do, is to really learn and understand the concepts behind flange sizing and how to look and see what's going on there. And then recognizing that there's probably not a 100% perfect solution. We're just trying to get
Yep.
as close to perfect as we can, whatever perfect means for you, for your nipple shape and the elasticity and the everything that goes into it. And I think that's something important to remember. And it changes too, which is why,
Yes.
I don't know, the program I built is lifetime access because I like answering questions down the road and I like being accessible when stuff changes, If all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
not working as well as it used to, like, let's figure it out. And I don't know,
Yes.
but I
That's
think that's
awesome.
something I would like to share with people, is that it's not perfect. We're not shooting for perfection here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think you're right about it changing, and our bodies change throughout the whole experience. Like when I was super swollen after preeclampsia, my flange size was probably very different than it is now, two
Oh,
years out,
probably.
like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bodies change, nipples change as you use them more and as you're pumping and or nursing at the same time. Like things change. So it's awesome to have that support, that ongoing support to fit if you need to refit. And yeah, it's just cool. It's cool to have. And I saw that yesterday, I saw that you have a class now for lactation professionals. That's like
Yeah, we
three
do.
hours of flange fitting. I'm like, wow, that's a long
Yeah.
time. I want to know all that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like an 11-hour training on pumping for professionals.
Yes,
So
that's amazing.
my kind of love is like the science of breast pumps and understanding how they work and what matters, and also like putting that into practical sense. And then we have my colleague Jessica Anderson, who's really like a flange sizing wizard. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. And she kind of specializes in wearable pump flange sizing too, which is
Oh, that's,
crazy because
yeah, that's tough.
you can't see anything and
Mm-mm.
no. So yeah, it's been great to kind of put that together and help just provide information. And like, does anybody really know anything about anything? Like, I don't.
Right. We're
I
all
think
learning.
science is always changing and always updating. And even, breastfeeding and nursing practices are still changing. We're still getting new
Yep.
studies on, oh, like mastitis. A year ago, they said, oh, hey, we've
Yes.
been thinking about this and treating it like backwards all forever.
I know, right?
And I'm like, great. Like, what else?
Awesome. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else are we doing that's not? Oh my goodness! But
Yeah,
we're
it's
just doing the
still
best we can
evolving.
and putting information out when we have it. Okay,
Yeah.
switching gears just a little bit, I would really like
Sure.
to dive into the inclusive practice that you've built and kind of what that means to you and what you've done to be able, like, that's part of your marketing, which I think is awesome. I just love to hear more about that.
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of like twofold for me. So the first branch of inclusivity for me is including families no matter what their pumping or feeding journey looks like. So if they're pumping, if they're feeding, if they plan on combo feeding, if they plan on just giving colostrum for a couple of days and then going to formula, like there's no judgment here. And I feel like some lactation consult, or at least I think some people have the conception that lactation consultants push exclusive nursing or exclusive breastfeeding or exclusive pumping even, but I just want people to feel supported in whatever their goals are. So whether that's includes giving formula, of course, I'm going to support you in that. It's just I support families who want to provide any amount of human milk to their babies.
Yeah, wonderful.
So that's the one first branch of inclusivity. And the other branch is more of talking about like gender inclusivity and being more inclusive of all communities, because I feel like our language in maternal child, like even just saying maternal child health, not everyone who has a baby considers themselves a mother. There are a variety of people and a fluidity of their gender, and what they consider and call their body parts isn't going to be the same for everyone. And I just try to use inclusive language in my practice and on my YouTube channel so that everyone feels included. And it's really funny how many of the comments, unfortunately, on my channel are like rolling their eyes at the fact that I say chest feeding, or I'm just like, you know what? If you don't like it, take what you want from my channel and find another one that maybe fits your needs better. But I just want everyone to feel included. And if people don't enjoy the fact that I use that language, then that's on them, but they can just unfollow me or find another channel
Yeah.
that provides them more language in something that in the form that they feel comfortable with.
Yeah, you bet. So do you have kind of like a set kind of terms that you kind of always use, or do you kind of like bounce around and use all terms, or like what? I'm just curious how you approach that. I think it's really great that you're consciously making an effort to include this in your practice.
Yeah, thank you. I think I say breast and chest feeding most often on my channel. That's kind of how I started out. I have recently started to just kind of like the term body feeding as well, because we're using our bodies to feed our babies. It's not, doesn't have to have any gender to it or any sort of connotation. Like our babies are not only feeding from the breast or chest either, like it's our entire body. We are using our chest to do skin to skin, but we're using our arms, we're using our internal anatomy to make milk for our baby. So it's like a whole body experience.
Yeah, I love that too. I honestly, I love the diversity that we're starting to see in the field of lactation. And
Mhm.
I think you're absolutely right. If someone doesn't love the way that you deliver your information or the terms that you use, again, I don't think anyone is really out there to like intentionally cause harm or
Yeah.
trigger people. Like, we're not trying to do that. But the beauty of the world we live in is that there's a lot of options available. And so
Yeah.
if someone isn't comfortable with a particular person's way of delivering, it doesn't mean that that person is bad, or there's like no right or wrong here. Just like find someone where you can find where you feel more comfortable and they're using
Yeah.
language that
Terms
supports
that,
you. And
yeah.
I love that way of thinking about it. And which is why I also like connecting with, different kind of people like you. Like we're doing some similar things, but we have some differences too. And I think that's
Yeah.
what makes this field wonderful, is that people can find the support that they're looking for in a lot of different areas, and what suits them best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Well, as we kind of wrap up our conversation here today, is there anything else you'd like to share with, both of our communities? We're going to be posting this podcast on YouTube as well, and linking both of our
Yeah,
YouTube
so
channels,
excited.
because lots of good pumping and feeding information there from both of us. And you can, piece it all together and it'll be great. We also both provide support for
Yeah.
parents who are lactating. So, and in
Yes.
different ways too. Again, I
Mhm.
love to see it. So any kind of like, let's say, pumping advice or
Yeah.
general feeding advice, something like that that you'd like to share as we wrap up.
Yeah, sure. I just think that we touched on some of it, but like so many new pumps are hitting the market. There's like so many questions about the wearables and about like this pump versus that pump. Which one does my insurance cover? Like it can be confusing. And I think getting some advice prenatally from someone who knows about pumping is really helpful, because not everyone is the same. I'm not going to tell everyone go out and buy this pump. Like if your goal is exclusive pumping, my recommendation is going to be different than if you're going to be pumping once a week. And it just really depends on each person's goals and their body, and maybe even past lactation experiences. They might know like what maybe they had challenges with their supply in the past, and they're just like so many pieces of the puzzle that I think someone like Allison or I can help you put together all the little puzzle pieces and hopefully find something that works for you.
There's so much more to pumping than just like putting on a pump and pushing go.
Yes.
The more I dive into supporting parents in this space, the more I'm just like, like the logistics of pumping, the physical aspects of it are really only half the battle. I mean, the mental and emotional parts that play into your experience too are huge. And they're not like silly, nothing extra stuff. Like at least we're getting the milk, and our mental, like where we're at is second. Like, no, it affects both. And I don't know about you, but I just am seeing so much correlation between the two that I don't know. People give me a hard time about saying the same thing you just said, which is there's not really like this one pump that I recommend for everybody. Do you ever get kickback from saying that? Because I know it's frustrating. I don't know.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would like, we're all so different. Our goals are different. Our past experiences are different. Why would we, and the pumps are also different. So why would one pump be the one that you recommend for everyone?
Oh my
And
God.
I also love that you mentioned the emotional part of all of this, because it's sometimes when you're in that like thick of it postpartum, it's like so hard. You're exhausted. You're just trying to figure it all out. And like the first few weeks and months are the toughest. And you're just like, it's so hard to stick with it sometimes. And just if we were like thinking more about where parents are at mentally, and I always try to keep that in mind too when I come up with like a feeding or pumping plan. I talk to the parent like, does this sound feasible to you? Or is this going to make you crazy? Are you going to feel overwhelmed and want to cry every time that you need to feed your baby? And if so, like, what can we do to change it so that it feels more manageable to you?
Such an important piece of the puzzle there. I think coming up with a plan, ideally with the help of a professional that suits
so
you
hard.
and your goals. Like I know you can get on YouTube, probably both of our channels, and find like pumping techniques and like flange sizing stuff and pumps to use and things. But there are certain things that will probably make more of a difference in your experience than others. And we don't have to do all the things, like you can like piece it together and trial and error and like, but that sounds exhausting to me. And coming up with a plan that's suited for you with only the things that you can handle for one, and two that might make the biggest difference for you makes the most sense. So I love what you're doing. And I love that we're getting more pumping specific support out there because parents need it. A lot of parents are pumping. And so I love to see qualified, experienced people giving that like yourself. So
thank you. And I love what you do too. I love that you specifically work with working moms too. That's so awesome.
It's, I love it. That's kind of like where my passion is. And it's hard because I really want to serve everybody. But I have to really rely on other professionals like yourself to serve your individual community and the unique things that you bring to the table. And I love collaborating like this because I can't serve everybody. And I've chosen something very specific because it's very important to me. And I love that you kind of have your little space too. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I loved hearing about your story and your practice. And I think we were sprinkled in a lot of pumping advice and tips along the way. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you. This was awesome. It's so nice to meet you.
You too. You can find links to connect with both of us, platforms that we're on. I think, is YouTube your main platform?
Yep.
Yeah, that's mine too. So this is the best place to connect with both of us. We'll put links in the description and the show notes of the podcast episode, but reach out if you need help. And thanks again, Kassi, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Allison.